Join me today as we talk about make sure you get the photographs of those loved ones. Even though sometimes it may be annoying to get a photograph over and over and over again, make sure you take that picture because when they're gone, that's the memory you are going to cherish for the rest of your life. And Dan Bongino, he sent out a very cryptic message over the weekend. He said there are things that he's witnessed that have shaken him to the core. The Epstein files, that's not going away. Ghislaine Maxwell has spoken to Trump's attorneys, and Trump is saying he's going to give people a list. And Sydney Sweeney, woke, is gone. And now, hot chick with a muscle car is making a comeback. And credit card bills. Don't you think our interest rates should drop to 10%? There's a bill out there, and nobody's talking about it. Stick around. You just might learn something. Welcome to the Eric T. Conversation. I'm Eric T. Well, yesterday on the 26th, we had a celebration of life ceremony for my mother. She passed away in early June. And we had friends, family there, a whole bunch of people. And we had more people than we anticipated coming, which was really an awesome thing for my mom. She was 80 years old, would have been 81 in September. And she just passed away very suddenly. It was something that none of us were expecting. She just woke up one day and went back to sleep and go to be with God. So it was really tragic. My sisters and I have another older brother who passed away 3 years ago, about 5 days difference between when my mother passed away. So she's now with my brother. And it was a really great ceremony. And I learned a lot from that. I put together her whole montage of her video and of her life. You know, my mother was born in 1944 and she lived a wonderful life. My father was in the Air Force. They met when they were 17 and 18 years old, and they were together for 47 years. They got divorced about 13, 14 years ago, but they had a lifetime together. They had 4 children. And when I was putting together my mother's video of her life, it was astonishing. First of all, the black and white photos from when she was a child were perfect. They were amazing. After all these years, they still look like they probably just came out of the box. And then the color photos from the 70s and the 80s were all yellow and orange and faded. So I had to do a lot of touching up with that. But I was looking at my mom's life, and my mom was just a poor kid in the Bronx. My father met when they were teenagers in the Bronx. And she was just a poor kid from the Bronx. And, my dad decided that he wanted to join the military because he wanted to go to college. And that's the only way he was going to go to college because he was poor and they had to go to college. So that's where he knew he had to make it. So that's what he did. He enlisted in the Air Force and worked his way in, got a scholarship to go to the University of Wyoming, where he became an electrical engineer. And my dad eventually became a pilot for the Air Force and had a 20-year career after he retired. But my mom and dad did a lot together. They went to Wyoming. They went to New Mexico. We lived in Maine, New Hampshire. They lived in Alabama. We lived in Florida, where I was born. And then he came back after all that was done. And then he finally retired back in Florida. And my parents got to see and do so many things. And all those photographs that I got to see of my mom were just amazing. My mom was a beautiful lady. And you don't realize that. I didn't realize how beautiful my mom was because she was just mom to me all the time. My mom was very pretty, but she was just such a wonderful person and just full of life. She wanted to be around the children, and as she got older, have her grandchildren. She has 13 grandchildren, and she just wanted to be with them all the time. My mom had this thing called FOMO, fear of missing out. My sister would say that, and my mother would feel like she was missing out on something. So she always wanted to participate. And, at 80 years old, we went to South Carolina in April to see my nephew from a knob to become a regular cadet at the Citadel. And we did that whole ceremony that whole weekend. And my mother walked everywhere with us. She didn't miss a beat. She never wanted a handout. She never wanted help. She just did it all on her own. And I'm going to miss her a lot. But a couple of things I take away from my mother passing is that my mom was big on photographs. Every time we had an event, a birthday or union or some visiting people, my mother always wanted to take photos. And sometimes it was kind of annoying. Like, Mom, listen, we have photos. We'll pass them to you and I'll take them. Then I'll give them to you. And there were a lot of times that I kind of gave my mom a hard time about taking so many photos, and I will just take them. But as I was putting together her montage of her life, and I summed it up all in 20 minutes, and it just didn't do it justice. There are tens of thousands of photographs. But there were photographs that I wish I would have had from those moments that I didn't take a picture with her. Or the grandkids didn't take a picture with grandma. So if anything I can tell you out there is that somebody asks you to take a picture and they're a loved one or a friend or family, somebody like that, take that picture. If your kids are one of those kids like, I don't want to take another picture, mom, get the picture. Always take the photographs. Take the picture. It's a memory that you will have when they are long gone. And you can go back and you can remember that time. You know, like they say, a picture tells 1,000 words. They really do. And there are so many photographs that I didn't get that I wish I would have had. But I was stupid and I told my mom I don't want to take that picture. So my advice to you from here on out, if there's a loved one or somebody that you're interacting with and they want to take a picture or you want to take that picture, just take it. Because you'll be happy you did when they're no longer here. Because that'll be a memory that you'll be able to cherish and pass down for generations. My children, her grandchildren got to see what my mother looked like when she was a baby, as a 6-year-old, as a 12-year-old, as a high school graduate. And they're important memories to have and to pass down to your family. So if you're a family like mine that was really tight-knit, close, and did so much together, and we still extend it to our families as well, I hope you have a family like that. And I hope you can live and love each other. And if you're fighting with them right now, or you're arguing with a sibling, or you're not talking to them, I hope you reach out and talk to them. Make amends. Life is too short. I didn't always get along with my brother, and we were very opposite. But when I go through all those photos we had when we were younger, every photo, it was with me and my brother. Every photo. You know, I thought my name was Paul Eric growing up. My brother's name was Paul. And my mom used to call us Paul Eric all the time. My mother still, till the day she died, used to call me Paul Eric 3 years after my brother had passed. I thought that was my name. But every photo I had of when I was, a kid, my brother was always in the photo with me. My sister's not so much. But my brother was certainly in every photo I have from the time we started getting photos together until he passed. And I miss him too. And I had one photograph of my brother, the last one I took, was when him and I went to go play pool one night, probably about a month and a half before he passed away. And I'm glad I got that photo. And I look at it off and sits right next to on my bed, right next to my mom's. So take the photos. You'll be glad you did. Well, that's my observation of the day and for life. Now for the conversation. Trump is still dealing with the Epstein stuff and people just aren't letting it go. And I get it now. I get it. And I thought about this today, and I did a little post earlier, you might find it on my page, that Trump was asked about the Epstein files again when he was going on the plane headed out to Scotland. And he said, why does everybody keep asking me about him? I didn't do anything with the guy. Why don't you ask Bill Clinton? He went to the island 28 times. Why don't you ask the former president of Harvard and some other hedge fund guys? And he goes, if you want a list, I'll get you a list. I'll get you a list of all these individuals, and you can look into them. And then he walked off. And I started thinking about that conversation that he had. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this was his ploy the whole time. Maybe Trump thought, you know what? If I don't release the files and I demand not to release it and I kind of act like it's no big deal, the left will start coming at me. And they'll start demanding for that list to be released. And they don't want that list released because it's got a lot of their people on it. Maybe, I'm hypothetical, we don't know, but maybe that's something he was thinking about. It sounds pretty plausible to me that he now has information because his personal lawyer met with Ghislaine Maxwell a couple days ago, and they interviewed for 2 days. And then all of a sudden, Trump comes out with, you want a list? I'll give you a list. I believe she was starting to sing. She was starting to give names. Now, a lot of people are going, oh, he's going to pardon her. He's going to, she's going to get off scot-free. And of course, she's going to omit his name. People don't understand. This is how it works when you get somebody who's going to be a cooperating witness. First of all, she's done 5 years in prison already. The reason why she did 5 years in prison is because Jeffrey Epstein was not able to be charged. So what happens when you've got people like this, and I'm not a lawyer, this is the stuff that I've read and what some other attorneys have stated, is that when you have a witness like her, they usually testify against somebody like Jeffrey Epstein, and they get immunity typically in those cases. Unfortunately for her, she's the only one left, only one that they could go after. So what do? He's gone, and they went after her, and they dropped a hammer on her. Now, I don't know exactly what she did. She did some trafficking stuff and all that. So that's awful. But how long does somebody have to be in prison for that we know of, right? Because she would have gone out. She would have testified against Jeffrey Epstein and probably would have walked out of jail a free woman. but she was the only one there, so they charged her. So she's on 5 years right now. Everybody that's screaming, especially on the left now, they want the list. So I think Trump has her given all the information and that he's compiling that list with her. And what they're going to do is this. They can't go on exactly what she says, okay? Here's how it works, guys. You have to have validation, credibility, and you have to authenticate everything she says. You have to have corroborating evidence to what she states. They're not just going to take her word for it and be like, okay, you're pardoned now, and that's not going to happen. She's not getting pardoned. But once she says all the information that she says, they're going to take that information and they're going to verify it and make sure it's legitimate and they can actually prove what she said is true. Now, once they do that, they're going to talk to her, probably with her lawyer, and they're going to come up with some type of plea deal for her. She's not going to get pardoned, okay? That's the wrong message to send, and I think Trump's not going to do that. If anything, if a deal is worked out and the evidence she has is verified, and it has to be verified because the people on the left, now that they want the list let out because they weren't saying anything for the past 5 years, now they're jumped on a bandwagon. They want the list, right? So if Trump's name is not on the list, they're going to think it's all fabricated. So everything has to be verified. And I think once it's verified, I believe, my opinion, that her sentence will be commuted. Maybe she'll get some time off. Maybe she won't have to do the 20 years. Maybe she'll do 5, time served, and be able to get out. She's not getting pardoned. He's not going to pardon her because she did those types of crimes. But I think he'll commute her sentence to get the actual facts out there. So it's going to be interesting what's going to happen. But it's weird how Trump all of a sudden backed off. Now he's talking about a list. Maybe the whole time Trump was coming up with this information, he wanted the left to demand a list. They didn't say anything for 4 years. Now they're demanding the list. Now everybody on TikTok, on social media, that's all they talk about. Trump's on the list. Trump's on the list. We want the list. Where's the list? The Epstein file. That's all they talk about 24/7. I can do a live, and that's all they bring up. Where's the list? Where's the list? That's what he wanted. I think that's what he wanted. I believe in my heart that's what Trump wanted. He wanted the left to start demanding the list. So yeah, his hands are tied now. MAGA's always wanted the list. People on the right have wanted the list from day one. And we haven't wavered from that. We still want the list, whether his name is on it or not, which his name is not on the list. Okay, very clear. There's no evidence about that at all. And if you're going on the Wall Street Journal article, here's some facts about the Wall Street Journal article. Number one, it's unnamed sources, unnamed. So if you're going to accuse somebody of that information, it's unnamed. So they're not saying who even said it. Now, if you're going to make those kind of statements, put your name on it. Own it. Why do you have to be anonymous? If you are legitimately coming up with that information, now you're like a whistleblower. You should be protected, right? Also, in the article, it states that it is unverified hearsay. Hearsay, that means it's from somebody else, from a friend of a friend that told him. So it's hearsay. So if you're believing what the Wall Street Journal says, you're very naive on that. I believe that information that they put out there was just so they can get clicks, articles, people reading their stuff. That's what I think they did. They're taking calculating risks on doing that so they can increase their ad revenue. That's all it's for. Because if you've got stuff that you can't corroborate and you're putting it out there, you're like, you know what? We're going to get sued. We'll settle. No big deal. But we got it out there. Advertisers are coming back to the Wall Street Journal now because we're getting all these clicks. That's very plausible. So maybe Trump's whole scheme on this was to get the left to demand the list out because now they're demanding it. And he's going to give them what they want. He's going to. He's acting all nonchalant about it, doesn't want to keep talking about it because, yes, there are other things in our country that we need to worry about. And this is not really the top 20. Doesn't make that list. But you're going to get it. People, you're going to get the list. The stuff is going to come out. They're releasing it. They're going to get it out, and they're going to make it so everybody can have access to it. I don't think it's going to be redacted. They can't. They cannot give stuff now redacted after the whole shit show they did with the first release of the files. They can't redact it. They might redact the names of the people that are the victims, but I think we should let their names out too. Why not? Why not let their names out? These people are all adults now. And if they're making these accusations and they're accusing people, yeah, their names should be out there. We don't know. Unless it's actual verifiable that they are victims, verified that they're victims, fine, you protect their names. But if you're just somebody that just made an accusation and there's no verification that you were a victim or whatever, yeah, your name should be out there too. Get it out there. Get it all out there. and let the public decide. And we can put this entire mess to rest. Now, Dan Bongino, the assistant director of the FBI, came out over the weekend with a very cryptic tweet. He said that things that he's uncovered during these investigations have shaken him to the core, and that our country cannot continue to operate in this manner. I don't know if he's like crying wolf, because after a certain point, you continually say, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable the information that we're going to have. You're never going to believe it's going to destroy the republic as we know it. After a while, it falls on deaf ears. And I think they're forgetting that the American people can actually handle some dose of reality. But they're coming out with that information, and he says it shook him to his core. What are they hiding? What are they telling us? Shouldn't they just wait until it all comes out to tell us? Or they like to give us teasers when he was on his podcast, give promos and teasers to make you watch it later. I don't like that. I don't enjoy that. I don't like that they continually come out there and they give us cliffhangers to what's coming up next week on episode 15. Tell us what it is. If it's that bad, you got to tell us what it is. And I know it's an investigation, and people are like, well, currently it's an investigation. You know, you got to let that whole thing process go through. I get it. But this is the world of social media, and they don't have a problem getting in front of the cell phone and start typing away and tweeting something to that effect, which is going to get everybody up in arms and wondering what the hell is he talking about. But I believe what he found is truly going to shake everybody to their core. Our government has operated without any checks and balances for a very long time. They've just kind of been running amok. And a lot of people don't see that. You know, Rush Limbaugh used to call them the low information voters. They're the individuals that just kind of, you know, they don't really know what's going on. They just go and pull the lever. And I was kind of one of those people 20-something years ago. And then I woke up. I said, you know, we need to start really paying attention. During COVID, it made voting for somebody in your down in your local level, your city, town, your mayoral race. It made those people very important when you vote for them now. You realize when you give the wrong people power and they take a lot of it all of a sudden, and you find out who the ones that are possibly corruptible or not. A lot of people saw that during COVID. That woke a lot of people up. People on school boards were acting like dictators. So now the American people are starting to realize how important it is for these elections at every single level to make sure you are voting for the right people. And I think all this stuff is going to come out. And I think if we don't get this stuff squared away, it's just going to continue to happen over and over and over again. So we'll see what kind of information he has in the next coming weeks. But he gave us a good teaser. Everybody was talking about it. I'm talking about it. So Dan Bongino, if you happen to come across this on your For You page, make sure you got the goods. And make sure you come out with it sooner than later. Because the Epstein thing, as you noticed, it's not going over too well. I don't know if anybody's seen that new ad for American Eagle with Sydney Sweeney in it, selling some jeans. First of all, let's be clear. These jeans are not really that tight on her, but you get the idea. She is kicking out woke right to the curb. And I think some of these apparel companies and clothing companies are starting to realize the stuff they're trying to pitch to us over the last 10 years is not selling any of their products. This is a great commercial with her selling the jeans and getting into a Ford Mustang, you know, the old 60s muscle car. Check it out.
Sydney Sweeney, Hasbro Canes.
Their stock has gone up like 22% since this ad drop. I think it's settled around 12%, but their stock went up with that commercial. That's amazing. So that tells you, America, we're getting back. We're getting back to the masculine look of this country. We're getting back to women looking like women. We're getting back to people out there stopping with this crazy nonsense and this affirmation stuff. And right now, jeans for American Eagle are selling. You know why? Because they put a hot chick in a hot car on American television. I think we're making a comeback. Now that the big, beautiful bill has been passed and now it's going to be law and everybody's going to be reaping all these wonderful benefits from it, here are some interesting things that are out there right now that still haven't passed. So February 3rd, 2025, Senator Bernie Sanders and Senator Josh Hawley both did a bipartisan bill for the 10% credit card rate cap, right? So what that was is that's a cap at 10% of all credit card charges that you can get when you have a credit card. Right now, the average credit card interest rate is about 28%, and they're going to cap it at 10%. I think that's great. Nobody's talking about this bill. And I'm going to continue talking about this bill because it's very important. I saw it a few months ago and it hasn't gotten any traction. And I don't know why, but the credit card lobbying companies are fighting against it because they say it's going to lose some revenue and they're not going to be able to do their rewards program. I don't know about you, but I'd rather have a 10% interest rate on a credit card than a rewards program because they are charging 28%. Loan sharks back in the day that get 28% used to go to jail for charging that kind of interest rates. But it's okay for Visa and MasterCard to charge those kind of rates. So that's a bill that's on the floor right now. Then it's just not getting any traction. So if you want to look into it, it's S.381. And you should look into it. And that's a bill that if we can pass it, you're going to get capped at 10% on all your credit card interest charges. And it'll allow people to be able to pay off those interests and that credit card debt a lot quicker than 30 years. It's like a mortgage. So that's one you got to start paying attention to. So the credit card rate cap of interest at 10%, Bernie Sanders, Senator Josh Hawley, they both are bipartisan sponsors on this thing. So we got to watch that one and keep an eye on it. And hopefully that gets passed and it gets to the floor and Congress votes on it because you know what? That saves Americans money as well. Because these credit card companies make tens of billions of dollars in interest just by using that credit card. Now, you shouldn't have any credit card debt. You should pay it off right away. But some people can't. That's the way the economy is. Sometimes things aren't really good and you got to use credit card to charge some things so you can get by. But the interest rate's got to come down. And I think 10% is reality for people using a credit card. And that's a reality check for credit card companies. You know what? And that's going to cause even more competition. So now credit card companies are like, wow, I charge 6%, I charge 2%. And there's a lot of credit cards that charge, 1.5% or 0% interest for 12 months or 2 years. Or if you transfer your balance over, that's fine. But there are a lot of people that don't have 850 credit scores. There just are people like that. And they're stuck paying these high interest credit card rates and they're never going to pay them down. So hopefully that gets passed. We'll look into that. I'll keep you abreast of that over the next couple of weeks and we'll see if that gets any traction. Maybe it will. Another trade deal with the United States, have a European Union trade deal with 0% tariffs. Experts, you're failing at all these predictions. Okay, we got the deal maker in there. And they're talking about they're going to be bringing, EU is going to purchase from the U.S. $750 billion worth of energy. And they agreed to invest $600 billion up here in the United States. Investing $600 billion. They're going to buy $750 billion worth of energy. This is a win-win. And nobody cares. Everybody keeps talking about the tariffs are going to destroy us. They're taxing the people that are buying them. It's not. And eventually, we start raking in so much money and revenue from the tariffs that we're going to start getting a little money back. I believe that. It's going to happen. Now, Trump talks about that a lot, brings it up, and people start waiting. The thing is going to happen tomorrow, okay? He's just been in there 7 months, guys. You think it's just going to happen tomorrow, you're going to get a check. Where's the Doge check? This is true intentions. And so far, Trump has followed up with all of his campaign promises thus far. You can't do all of them at one time. It's impossible. That's why we have 3 branches of government, right? He can't just wave a magic wand. They're going to start making these things happen. Tariff deals are working. I get it. You're paying a little bit more for goods, I guess. But you know what? We start bringing in enough money, you're not going to worry about it anymore. And then all of a sudden, the income tax rate goes away, and now you got more money in your pocket. I'm not saying when that's going to happen, but I certainly believe that is going to happen, and he's moving it into that right direction because that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants a little more money, right? Everybody wants a little cash in their pocket. They want money now, and I get it. A lot of Americans are still hurting. Things are going to progressively get down. Everybody's like, well, he said he would do it day one. Yeah, he enacted stuff day one. But like anything else, it takes a while for these things to start building steam. The new bill, that's going to go in 2026, in my opinion, from what I've read and researched, it's going to be a phenomenal year for the United States. Better than we've had in probably 40 decades, 50 decades. It's going to be a great 2026. So hold on tight, tighten that belt a little bit, but as things starting to get implemented and these policies starting to go forward, it's going to be better for everybody. That's it for today. Join me next time for a little chit chat. some observation, and some good old-fashioned conversation. Thanks.